Welcome, one and all, to a new installment of our ongoing saga into surprise RPGs. That is, of course, a little premise developed by Omniverse's very own Doug Banks, who is with us today.
Hello.
Hello, Doug. And I'm Cat Blackard, his first test subject.
Yeah. Successful test.
Oh, yay! I get to live. Our first game was Kate was here. And since then, we've done several other experiments into surprise RPGs. But, well, as time went on, we happened upon a woman named Jessica Mudd, an accomplished game master in her own right, and she said, hey, what would happen if Doug was a player in a surprise RPG? What would happen if the tables were turned on him? So, please welcome Jessica Mudd, game master of this forthcoming surprise RPG.
Hey. And I think actually what I said was, do you think Doug would want to play in a game like this at some point?
The initial answer was no. No, not really. It's just like, of course, yeah. No, of course I wanted to try. Yeah. I was a little scared.
Well, I loved the concept of the surprise RPG, and I was just like, I kind of want to do one of these. And, one thing led to another. And then there we go.
Yeah, you ask the right questions, and it goes from hypothetically doing that with just anybody to, doing it with the people who do it. So, great, reach for the stars, everybody.
Sure.
So what is a surprise RPG? I'm glad you asked. It's a role-playing game where you play a totally normal person, and they live their lives for a while, having their own adventures, working towards whatever it is that they happen to be working towards. And then something drastically changes about their world. It is the call to action, the inciting adventure, and what makes it different from anything else is that when you're playing a role-playing game, typically you slap down and say, like, okay, we're going to be colonial marines. We're going to play aliens. You don't have the experience of being like a space miner who like has an accident happen or like is called, by the company over to like go to a planet or whatever and don't know what's happening to you. You know what's happening all the time.
You know what the mess is before you put your foot in it.
Yeah. You're not really being surprised. You can pretend to be surprised, but you're not really surprised. And Doug, you've developed a format that changes all that.
Well, more like a formula. Like just a philosophy on how to approach a game that wants to put players as close to that emotional and logical space as possible of what is it like to have your world turned upside down. But if you set out saying, hey, we're playing a game where we're playing in the Aliens Colonial Marines universe. You all signed up for the Marines and you're going out in outer space. Gee, let me guess, are we going to run into a xenomorph at some point? But if instead you say, hey, you're working as a miner, you're working in the asteroid belt, and you don't establish what universe it is, and then of course one day someone gets called into the med bay sick with a tummy ache, and they were your coworker, and then they don't come back, and then the alarms start blaring. It's like, wait a minute, where are we? What universe is this? Like there's way more of a emotional weight to being put on your toes, as it were,
or more to the point of the sort of things that we have done so far in Surprise RPG. You are, just a normal person hanging out at the beach one day, decide to go fishing, and turns out that, it just happens to be the summer of Jaws.
Yeah,
and,
like Killer Shark shows up.
Yeah.
Again, these are kind of extreme, quick examples, but the idea being that to have a player who makes a character that's prepared a background, and when you don't have a direction of where you're going, you become invested in the character and not so much the game.
Yeah, and if you end up, if you're an investment banker and you find yourself facing a Spielbergian monster of some kind, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
you could be the lawyer who gets eaten on the can.
Right. So just having players get double down on their characters before they even know where they're going. So when they do go where they're going, they're firmly implanted in whatever the character is doing and what they want.
Precisely. So, Doug and I are going to be playing this game together. And what we know is that the year is 1997,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to be transplants in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we were childhood friends.
Yeah.
And meeting up again post-college for, like, maybe not literally the first time, but certainly first in a long time.
Yeah, so I asked you all to create characters that were sort of lifelong friends, and then to also give me some information about other people who were in your circle as you were growing up. We set this game in Los Angeles in 1997, and I wanted you all to all come from the same small town in America somewhere, and have all sort of come to Los Angeles for different reasons, either pursuing a job, going there for education, or something like that. And you were sort of in this the age of being past college or a few years removed from high school. So you could have either worked on your career, you could have gone to college, but it was sort of the years right after that, just as you're starting to sort of establish your career, whatever that was going to be. I think that was pretty much it as far as the details go. So, yeah.
Cool. So Doug and I, we met each other when we were in our 20s, post-college. But one of the reasons we hit it off as friends is that we both have a background in filmmaking. We made movies as kids, effectively. But we both grew up in Florida, but we grew up in very different parts of Florida.
Yeah.
So we decided, well, okay, so if we're old friends, let's rewind and let's build a new past for Doug and I where we know each other and we're doing those things together. And we know Florida well enough, but since it's time shifted, where could we go and what could we do that could take that shared experience, work the angle of spurring us into a career in, like, let's say, movie making in Los Angeles, and what small town outside of California is going to facilitate that? Well, there was a film boom in Florida, but there was also a film boom in North Carolina, and a lot of cool movies were made out there in the 80s and 90s during that window of tax breaks and time, and Dino De Laurentiis making a permanent studio facility out in Wilmington, North Carolina. So that's where we decided to be from.
Yeah, because if you were growing up and you were the right age around that time and you wanted to get into film, it was probably a really good time to get started. So that all timed out and perfectly for the period, for at least for the year that this story is going to be set in.
Yeah. And from there, we built our characters based on different aspects of who we are and our personal journeys, people we knew, and in some cases, completely disparate things that have nothing to do with our final selves.
So the character I made and who I'll be playing is a young man named Brett Rutledge, who is 23 years old. He is currently an unemployed actor, and he wants to become an actor with the same notoriety of well-known, truly performance-driven actors like Paul Newman. That's like his idol. Robert Redford, like all these classic actors. He doesn't want to be a movie star. He wants to be like the actor, like the future Daniel Day-Lewis, like really like known for bringing out these performances. The problem is that he's led a very sheltered life. Despite wanting to be an actor and moving to LA, his parents are very supportive. He comes from a fairly privileged background, so he knows little about struggle and the real world and real pain. And he's doing his best, but his acting is really more of an imitation of struggle as opposed to like actually having lived it. So he doesn't really have. He's a handsome person. He's got a face for acting, but not really the life experience or the wisdom that would really help someone in his position.
And I'm playing Gwendolyn Megan Carver, who went out to Los Angeles as a special effects makeup artist, but she went directly into her career after doing some gigs in Wilmington, because it's kind of easy to, if you want to be an actor, there's maybe a lot more hoops you got to jump through. But if you want to work in the art department of a film, you just got to be in the right place at the right time, and you can get that work if your hands are good. So she went from doing student films with Brett to picking up some odd jobs in Wilmington. Wilmington was a good place to do that, and next thing she knew, the work was happening out in Los Angeles, and she is not the least bit discerning about what she's working on. So she's working on all kinds of like big budget films, schlock films, all sorts of stuff. And lately she's been pulling in a lot of work from movie houses like Full Moon Features, doing just, a lot of weird mutants and stuff, making a lot of, heads melt and things explode and, blood gush and stuff like that. And she loves it. But it's been a particularly transformative journey for her because she's trans. This is the first time I've played a trans character in a role-playing game before. And when she left Wilmington, she wasn't out. And now that she's in LA, she is out.
And this is going to be this reunion among friends is going to be the first time we'll be meeting you in person as Gwen.
Yeah.
And that'll be an interesting experience for old friends who grew up together and then meeting the new you, but trying to figure out, is the new you the same as the old you? How much? How little?
Dealing with the weird politics of transness, but then also dealing with the weird politics of transness like in the mid 90s, which is something, I don't know anything about. I only know about being trans now, which is, it's hard enough, but it was way worse then. And we're, but we're in a good position where we all trust each other and we can have,
we have that long established history is the thing.
Yeah. And we in real life as well. So we can do difficult role playing. We can it is safe for me to explore this in the space and to tell this kind of story with this kind of character. She's also her primary hobby is that she's a drummer in two bands. She's in a Genesis cover band that's an all-girl Genesis cover band called Carpet Crawlers, and a band made of people in the special effects makeup industry called the Squibs.
And sort of the third primary character of this friend group is an NPC named Eric Foster, who is he's an ambitious kid. He was inspired a lot by movies like The Abyss and Jurassic Park and some of the very early computer-generated imagery. And so he went to East Carolina University. He studied computer programming and computer art. Eventually dropped out and moved out to LA to begin working out there. In addition to that, you all provided some background for your friend group. There was Frank Garrison and Katie Beckert, who were also members of your group of friends that made movies and things like that when you all were younger.
Yeah, we fleshed it out. This is a surprise RPG, so we don't know what's going to happen or who we're going to have to talk to or how much of that established thing it's going to be. We even came up with some premises for some movies we made. One of them we actually we like maybe way too much.
Yeah, maybe want to actually make.
Yeah. So it's been a really fun exercise developing these characters, and I'm excited to step into it. I'm curious, Jess, in relation to stepping into surprise RPG from the outside. Doug's built his formula. No one else in our organization has done this yet. So how did you prepare for this as a game master?
Well, I started off with deciding on a premise for a game that I thought sounded fun and something that you all would enjoy. When I first started planning this, Kat, I knew you pretty well at that point, but I had not really had any sort of interactions with Doug. And when I kind of came to you with this idea of running a surprise RPG, I did it kind of going into it blind without really knowing, what kind of game would Doug like to play in. So that was kind of the first thing that I had to decide on was what was the basis for the game going to be. And then trying to find a way to sort of give you a general idea of what kind of characters to create that would not give too much away about where things were ultimately going to go, but would sort of give you an interesting, allow you the chance to create interesting characters, something you all could really bond with. And because it was the two of you playing together, I really wanted to focus on getting two characters that would not even say so much get along, but just be able to go on an adventure together and be comfortable with one another and not have like a lot of conflict. I think we talked about that. Like, you all would be old friends that would be reconnecting. You have a lot of shared history, common friends, and you're interested in getting back together and kind of reestablishing the relationship that you all have. And this story was going to involve a lot of that. How you sort of like how you sort of get back together and you rebuild your relationship after all these years, especially with like some of the things that have changed for you, the ways that you evolved in your life. Yeah. So it was kind of like just taking it from there and trying to come up with what I thought would be an interesting story premise for a story to kind of build everything off of.
Now, mechanically, we're using the D6, the open D6 system, which has become the default for surprise RPGs thus so far. And it's the first time for you using it.
Yeah, we ran a little bit of a test game before jumping into the main campaign, just so I could kind of get familiar with it. But I have not played a game in the open D6 system other than that. I've played in a lot of different systems. Most of the games that I have run have been in Dungeons and Dragons, that system. And then, a few other just like shorter, one-off games. I've run some in the Marvel system, and then just some smaller things like You Awaken in a Strange Place and things like that. But first time with Open D6, and I'm very excited about it.
Okay, well, I suppose all that remains is to get it started. So, if everybody's ready,
let's do it. I like this plan. Happy to be a part of it.
Play it, Johnny. It's like...